Okay, here we go.
This nonfiction drama is based on the friendship between Crystal Zivon and a young father in the Gaza Strip. The story is told through their correspondence since the fall of 2023, reflecting Zivon's efforts to help the family intertwined with short news reports that give context to the letters. The main focus is the messages received from the young father, which, while telling a story that in some ways reflects universal truths about living through any war, offers insight into this particular conflict. We open it with the sound of drones, which Palestinians listen to all day and all night. Sometimes, when I see their faces, actually I seem to always see their faces. When I take a shower, I'm thinking, they can't take a shower. When I eat a salad full of nutritious vegetables, I wonder, are they eating from tin cans? Or are they eating anything at all? When Yasser and I began communicating, I remember how the children's eyes sparkled and twinkled and their smiles were so bright. But they're older now in every way, For almost 2 years now, more than 600 days. How is that possible? I wake up and the first thing I think is, are they alive? I check for the text messages from Yasser. Most mornings, except when he doesn't have a signal, there's a message. Sometimes there are photos or videos. We used to have video calls, but there's not enough signal for that anymore. With Yasser's texts on my mind, I get out of bed, feed my animals, make a cup of tea, turn on the TV to Al Jazeera thinking it can't be worse than yesterday. But it almost always is. Worse. Next, I watch Democracy Now! And get another angle on worse. I make myself watch because I can't not. I feel like, how can we stop? How can we stop it if we don't know? In every video Yasser sends, there's this steady sound of drones in the background. I think, how can I bear it? Day in and day out, that buzzing, always overhead, always watching, always a threat. I can't bear it, and I'm just watching a video. I'm getting sidetracked. I had a plan for how to tell their story. The story of one family in Gaza, one family who, if you measure by the standard of living in Gaza, are relatively more fortunate than most. I can't believe I just said that. I can't believe it. Where the hell does fortune come into it? I met Yasser online about 2 years ago, after the massacre in 2014. The one the Israelis called Protective Edge. The one where the settlers sat on a hillside with picnic baskets and glasses of wine and cheered every time a bomb exploded. I thought it couldn't get worse than that, worse than 2,000 deaths. Anyway, Yasser and I sent texts back and forth. Not a lot, but we kind of got to know each other. After October 7th, we got back in touch, and since then we've been exchanging texts and photos almost every day. Yasser Yusuf is now 33 years old. He has a degree in civil engineering, and his wife Nada is the same age. They have 3 children. Maria, who is 3 months old on October 7th, she learned to walk surrounded by rubble. Mohammed is 5 now, and he has a face that melts my heart. And finally, Yusuf, the oldest. His face is a bit more serious, as if he understands more than any child his age should have to understand. But I'm talking too much. What I want to do is to share some of the texts I've received from Yasser over the months. I think the story of this family, this one family, tells itself, and it reveals the story of Gaza.
November 22nd, 2023. A 4-day pause. 50 Israeli captives were exchanged for 150 Palestinian captives. As they were being released, one elderly woman hugs her Hamas captor. We didn't hear from this woman again.
It's November 23rd, 2023. We have been displaced from our home and now reside in the Khan Yunis UNRWA shelter. I can only say now that we hope that the armistice agreement will be implemented tomorrow. Oh, for a period of 4 days, and then renewed, and this war will end. Despite the oppression and pain we are going through now, our lives will be harsh when we return to our homes because it will often be partially or completely destroyed, as well as a complete collapse of the electricity and water infrastructure.
December 2nd, 2023. Talks to extend ceasefire collapse. Hamas wants Israel to end its attacks on Gaza and release all Palestinian prisoners in exchange for all captives. Israel refuses.
We had to move to a refugee tent camp in Khan Yunis. They said it would be safer. The sounds of rockets and shells are terrifying at night. Our life is as follows. During the day, we try hard to provide for our family and the children's necessities. Everything we need, we go to buy. Never believe anything about the entry of aid because it's commandeered by profiteers and sold in the market at high prices. At night, we cannot sleep because of the bombing and the sounds of ambulances and civil defense. The simplest thing we must buy is water for drinking, for bathing, water for washing clothes, water for washing eating utensils. A cup of water is carefully shared, cherished. Water was supposed to be available There is an Israeli proposal to Europe to send ships to transport Palestinians. The Israelis want there to be no more Palestinians.
December 10th, 2023. The United States vetoes the United Nations Security Council proposal to stop the war. Hamas says they are reviewing a three-stage ceasefire proposal by Egyptian, Qatari, Israeli, and U.S. negotiators. Netanyahu rejects the proposal.
It was sometime around here that I was writing a letter to the editor about, children dying, infrastructure destroyed, hospitals bombed, etc., etc. And all of a sudden, a thought came to me. When you talk about this genocide, most people respond with, well, what about October 7th? What about Hamas? And it suddenly struck me, what if my grandsons had been born in Gaza, had their electricity doled out, food limited to subsistence calories, had friggin' chocolate disallowed, had family members killed or beaten or imprisoned by Israeli soldiers? I mean, after years of collapsing negotiations and nonviolent resistance that failed over and over and over again, would my grandsons join the resistance?
Hello, my friend. I'm fine, and my family is fine. But Maria has been very ill over the past 2 days, and until now, without responding to treatment. And the reason is the cold weather here in the tent. I'm very afraid for her. It took me
a while, but eventually I understood that we are fine means we are alive.
December 29th, 2023. The Hague, Netherlands. South Africa filed suit today against Israel at the International Court of Justice, stating that Israel is committing genocidal acts and genocide against the Palestinian people in the Gaza Strip.
We have been displaced to the city of Rafah, near the Egyptian border. There is no positive news here. Our suffering increases here in the sand and cold climate due to the proximity to the sea. The children are in good health now, free of diseases. I hope that continues. January 11th, Rafah. Our lives are miserable here, my friend. We have become homeless when in the past we had a home of our own. We used to drink water from the refrigerator without getting tired, and now we run like monsters to get water. We used to have a bathroom to relieve ourselves safely and easily, and now we suffer from that. We have reached a point of collapse.
I feel so helpless. Sometimes I wake up and I'm so mad. I'm so angry. I'm mad at the checker at the grocery store and the car with a "My child is an honor student" on it. The bumper sticker. And other days I wake up crying. Literally, on those days, no matter what anyone says to me, I start crying. If I know about this inhumane, brutal, savage genocide, our friggin' government has to know, right? If the old lady who lives across the street doesn't know, the government knows, right?
January 22nd, 2024. Gaza hospitals facing a catastrophic situation. Palestinian health minister says only 9 hospitals continue to partially operate in Gaza and without enough medical supplies or electricity.
Yesterday, I received news from my village that my house was partially demolished, and I do not know the severity of the structural damage. We hope that the situation will not get worse, but the Israeli military are back again in my village.
I started a GoFundMe a while ago, and we're raising money. But now I can't find a way to get it into Gaza. By order of the U.S. Treasury, banks face serious fines and consequences if they transfer money to Gaza. No matter where you turn, no matter what you try. If it's about Palestine, forget it. Just forget it.
Sorry for the delay in responding, my friend. I can't stand the cold anymore. I'm standing in the street to get internet. The cold eats at my fingers.
In the beginning, the family was determined to stay in Gaza. If their home was damaged, they would rebuild it. They were Palestinians from Gaza whose grandparents had been displaced during the Nakba in 1948. They were determined that they would never submit to another Nakba. But after Maria was sick and close to death, then Muhammad got very ill, and that changed. They decided to leave Gaza. So I, and a small group who had come together to support Yasser's family, began searching for a way out. We raised funds for travel and searched for a country to grant them humanitarian asylum. Everywhere we turned into a dead end.
The children are asleep now. We had a water problem, and this is what concerned us today. The bombing has not stopped for 2 days in the vicinity of Rafah and Khan Yunis. The scenes we receive from the vicinity of Nasser Medical Hospital and the shelter schools in which we previously lived are now horrible. Martyrs in the streets, and now they are dying because of Israeli snipers that prevent them from going out to get drinking water. Crying is everywhere.
February 10th, 2024. The body of Hind Rajab, a 6-year-old Gaza girl, found days after recordings of her pleas for help emerged while she was under Israeli fire.
I'm now confused because many families have begun to dismantle their tents and move to central Gaza Strip, but there's no order to evacuate. The continuous firebombing and bombing of residential squares in the south of Khan Yunis makes us feel anxious and afraid.
February 20th, 2024. U.S. vetoes UN Security Council proposal for the 3rd time. Netanyahu welcomes the U.S. veto.
I feel like I want to leave this country. I'm ashamed. I am so ashamed. Where is humanity? I want to leave, but there's nowhere to go.
I was praying to God to support me so that I can become a successful man of this world. I want to be a man of real benefit amongst people in this world. Perhaps you are my gateway to this world, and I believe in that. My whole family is happy with you. We are part of your family, and you are part of mine. The reality is worse than what the camera conveys to you. We are now living in complete chaos. Many civilians now own weapons, and if one of them encounters a problem, they shoot immediately without any hesitation. Therefore, my young family and I try to stay close together. We try to protect each other from this overwhelming chaos. The Israeli army is now mockingly blowing up residential homes here. The goal is to eliminate the signs of life.
February 28, 2024. The conduct and ethics of some Israeli Defense Forces members have increasingly come under the microscope. Incidents ranging from pranks to potentially criminal acts are being exposed to the world, often by videos soldiers themselves have posted online. In many pictures and videos that have circulated IDF soldiers are seen blowing up buildings in Gaza, wearing women's underwear like flags, and rifling through and often destroying the possessions of Gazans with gleeful expressions.
Yesterday I met a friend who was released from Israeli prisons after 61 days. He told me many horrors that happened, including beatings, broken bones without treatment, forced to walk barefoot on glass, falling into cold water without clothes. His feet and hands were shackled for 61 days. They are not allowed to go to the bathroom, urinating and defecating in their clothes. They also bring in police dogs in to bite them and urinate and defecate on them. They are accused of baseless charges such as participating in October 7th or belonging to a Hamas. They are brought before the court and prison sentences are issued against them without the presence of any defense lawyer. They are not even allowed to speak or defend themselves. The scene is very, very terrible. I'm really afraid of this now. All of this has brought fear into my heart.
Is anyone paying attention? This is actually happening. How is no one stopping it?
February 29th, 2024, the Flower Massacre occurred, and at least 118 Palestinians were killed and 760 injured after Israeli forces opened fire while Palestinians were seeking food from aid trucks.
What I can say to everyone is that Gaza is no longer fit for life at all. If a ceasefire occurs here, the war of how we will live will, with everything around us destroyed, will begin. We hope that the efforts of your country in seeking now will stop this genocide. We need great efforts for urgent relief during the war and then after the war. The only party that is capable of doing this is the United States. What is happening in American universities is a new phenomenon. I hope that it will succeed in increasing pressure at the political level in the United States in order to reach a ceasefire soon.
We keep telling each other that we will all meet soon. Do we believe it? I think Yasser does. I think he has to just to keep going.
The news again carried new proposals for a ceasefire and the release of prisoners. We hope that this will happen and that Rafah will not be entered and everything destroyed. We are facing a really hard life here. As temperature rose, the ground began to release lizards, ants, snakes, and scorpions. Death has now become multiple. At first we were afraid of bombs, then of poor health, and now we have to become afraid of sleeping, so that what comes out of the ground will not reach us.
March 22nd, 2024, Sahir Akram Ryan, a journalist with the Palestinian Authority news agency Wafa, was killed with his son Anas in an Israeli strike as they were assisting injured neighbors. More than 100 journalists have been targeted and killed.
The institutions that call themselves charitable here are unfair institutions. Since the beginning of the war, many thousands have not received just one aid box.
I've been talking to embassies who might let the family in with humanitarian asylum designation. but they have to get there first, to Canada or Spain or Ireland, and to get there requires a visa. The cruel joke is that there's no way to get a Palestinian visa in Gaza.
Yesterday was terrifying. A place in the middle of the tents was bombed. Also, Israeli planes were breaking the sound barrier, resulting in very loud and frightening sounds. The children are afraid. I was visiting the head of our family, whom we call the Mukhtar of the family. He was released yesterday after 55 days in Israeli prisons. He's 62. They insulted him, did not respect his age. He was kept handcuffed, his feet were shackled, blindfolded for 55 days in addition to constant beatings and malnutrition. He tells us to just intensify our prayers for the prisoners there. Israelis treat us as if we are animals, unfit to live.
In April 2024, following the withdrawal of Israeli forces, over 300 bodies of young men, women, and children were unearthed at the Nasser Medical Complex in Khan Yunis, Gaza. According to Colonel Yamin Abu Suleiman, the bodies exhibited signs of having been bound and executed in the field. Reports indicate that 2 other mass graves have been identified but have yet to be excavated.
This morning's White House news briefing was all about how we would have to wait for an Israeli investigation into the mass graves before making a judgment. I feel like I live in an alternate reality, a reality with thin air, because when I hear this, I can't breathe. I mean, really, I can't breathe.
April 4th, 2024. Former President Donald Trump says Israel needs to finish what they started.
From my birth until now, Palestine has been going through the worst conditions. I dreamed of traveling and moving freely, completing my university studies, obtaining advanced degrees, and learning about other cultures and languages. But, unfortunately, I did not achieve any of these dreams. I am a negligible part of the youth whose dreams ended without realization. But when I look at your society, I really feel hope again. You and your friends, despite your old age, have the spirits of youth and defend the truth. I love this positive energy from you. So if this war ends, I must travel and reach you in order to learn and get a part of what I dreamed of.
April 19th, 2024. Months ago, a State Department panel recommended that Secretary of State Anthony Blinken disqualify multiple Israeli military and police units from receiving U.S. aid due to allegations of human rights violations. Blinken has not taken action and continues to justify Israel's actions.
What is happening now in this war is more difficult than what happened in 1948. Previously, no one knew what was happening. But now everything is documented and the whole world knows our suffering. Why is no one coming to help us?
Why is no one going to help them? Why? What can I say to Yasser?
The bad news is that my cousin is still trapped under the rubble. He was martyred 2 days ago, and no one can reach the place where he was targeted in northern Kusa.
Very early on, Nada's sister and her infant daughter were killed. Yasser wrote that he was there when it happened. I mean, we all know that death is a part of life, but not like this. Orchestrated slaughter is not meant to be a part of life.
May 7th, Hamas accepts an Egyptian-Qatari ceasefire proposal, but because it becomes increasingly clear that Israel does not want a ceasefire.
We're closer than ever to an end of this war. With the American CIA director did during the past 2 days is the reason for this success of what is happening now in Egypt. Despite the military entry into eastern Rafah, we believe Israel will not cross Biden's red line. The next hours are crucial. I want to think positively.
May 9th, 2 days after Hamas accepted the ceasefire proposal, Israel invades Rafah. The Biden administration response is that Israel is conducting a limited operation, not an invasion. Biden has moved his red line.
My grandson was arrested in the student protest at his college last night. At the start, there were only about 30 students protesting. But when cops from 3 neighboring towns appeared, and then helicopters overhead, more faculty and students joined them. On the news, they say that the student protests are the only thing giving Gaza hope. And Yasser agrees. I'm proud of my grandson.
It seems I forgot to tell you, Nada's nephew was killed. He was targeted by a tank shell, and he is, well, was only 17. He lost his life. He did nothing wrong. We hope to implement the international criminal resolutions because this means ending the war. We're looking forward to that announcement.
Oh, it seems hope does really seem spring eternal.
My mother has been in Cairo since before the war began for medical reasons. Now she can't get back. Yesterday we talked to her by internet. Recently, Youssef no longer eats the food we make. I asked my mother to ask him, why don't you eat my food? And he looked at my mother and told her, Mama, your food isn't delicious. Grandma, I miss your food and also the milk you used to make for me. Youssef looked at his grandmother and smiled. When will you come here and make milk for me? It brought tears to my eyes. I saw my children's love for my mother. It made me think, if we were by some miracle able to go to another country, will the children adapt quickly to a new life in another culture? A lot of questions are running through my mind.
July 31st, 2024, Tehran, Iran. Hamas's chief negotiator for the Qatari brokered ceasefire talks with Israel, Ismail Haniyeh, was assassinated today. Iranian and U.S. officials believe Israel assassinated him, but Israel has said nothing.
Every day I live here in Gaza, I'm amazed at the way the Israeli army enters residential districts. Israel does not want Hamas members. Rather, it wants to destroy as much of Rafah as possible. The scene is terrifying tonight. Many families are fleeing from the north of Khan Yunis to an unknown road now.
August 7th, 2024. Pro-Palestinian protesters interrupted Vice President Kamala Harris during a campaign rally in Michigan, chanting, "We won't vote for genocide." The Vice President replied, "If you want Donald Trump to win, then say that. Otherwise, I'm speaking."
The situation here is very dangerous. The artillery shelling east of Deir al-Balah is violent and has not stopped since sunrise today. Today will be hot at all levels. We hope that the forecast will be positive.
August 13th, 2024. Netanyahu reportedly hardens his negotiating team position, insisting that Israel keep control of Gaza's southern border, a new condition.
I was asked to speak at an event So I asked Yasser to write something for me to read.
Every free person that came here to participate against the greatest evil in the world, which is Israeli Zionism. In the last month of this war, we have been displaced more than 12 times. With each displacement trip, we lose part of ourselves and are struck by a wave of anger, heartache, and hysteria. Despite that, the children consider each displacement trip a new life and begin to adopt to this new life again. Today, despite the state of hunger, fear, and anxiety that we are living in, as well as the exhaustion of the body and soul, we have a new hope for the beginning of a new life to end this war on the decisive day of these negotiations. Therefore, we demand that everyone increase the pressure in order to reach a real ceasefire. We do not want anything from this world except to stop this current slaughter. Another aspect of this war is my desire to help needy families here in Gaza, because the pictures and videos coming out of Gaza do not describe the pain and suffering in the eyes of children and mothers here because of hunger and the poor economic situation. We started creating a new donation link in order to try to help as many families here as possible. We always look to find ways to bring joy to the hearts and eyes of the children and their mothers. We're always confident in what you give us, whatever it is, material or morale. Thanks to all of you in the midst of this suffering. Life does not end, and as long as it continues, there must be hope.
August 15th, 2024. Over 100 Israeli settlers attacked the Palestinian village of Jit in the West Bank today, killing one Palestinian and burning cars. Israeli newspaper Haaretz reveals that an Israeli army unit was nearby during the 4-hour attack and did nothing to stop it or arrest the attackers. Since October 7th, Israeli forces and settlers have killed 632 Palestinians in the West Bank, including 147 children.
August 21st, Al-Mawasi. There's an advance of Israeli vehicles now in the north of Khan Yunis. The situation here is very dangerous. Ambulances are transporting the injured as a result of this sudden entry, and we're now displaced every few days. My family has spent many nights on the streets now because of the displacement. There's nowhere in Gaza to go. They tell us to leave, but we don't know where to go.
August 21st, 2024. U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken leaves Middle East, saying ceasefire talks may be last chance to free captives from Gaza. He returns to the U.S. with no agreement for a ceasefire.
My cousin was martyred just a few minutes ago. The situation is very dangerous. I took a picture of my cousin on the ground. He's a kid, no more than 12. He never hurt anyone. Also, a short while ago, 2 tents near us burned down. The distance between my tent and the fire was 100 meters. I hope I don't lose any more of my family members.
I don't know what to do. I don't know how to help.
August 22nd, 2024. Israeli attacks have killed at least 10,490 school and university students and injured another 16,700, while more than 500 school teachers and university educators have also been killed, according to the Al Mazen Center. All educational facilities in Gaza have remained closed, and hundreds of school buildings have been destroyed or damaged. On Wednesday, an Israeli attack on a school for orphans in Gaza City killed several people, mostly women and children. Another Israeli attack on a school filled with thousands of displaced Palestinians in northern Gaza killed at least 15 people. The list goes on. Israeli forces allege that Hamas uses schools as command centers. Hamas denies the charge. Israel is committing scholasticide, the deliberate and systematic destruction of the Palestinian education system in Gaza, according to a recent report for Human Rights Watch. Gaza has become the most dangerous place in the world to be a child, according to UNICEF.
Your prayers for us in these times are needed more than ever. My aunt. They bomb everything they want without any consideration for the overcrowding here. Your efforts have saved us from starvation, humiliation, and oppression. Thanks to the faith you have in us, I know that nothing is impossible.
Nothing is impossible. Nothing is impossible? Nothing's impossible.
My family has a cold and also a sore throat. Also today, when we went to see the doctor for Yusef, who was suffering from ear pain, it turned out he needs an operation. Unfortunately, we cannot do anything because of the collapse of the health system inside the hospital. We will wait until the end of the war. I hope this pain does not worsen with Yusef.
August 31st, 2024, the UN Agency for Palestinian Refugees, UNRWA, has accused the Israeli government of buying ads on Google to block users from giving donations to the agency.
Yusef's pain is better now. Unfortunately, mental illness has struck my wife Nada more. She imagines that she misses us when she hears every sound of missiles. She loses control, and that frightens the children. She is so tired of this situation, this suffering.
How will he walk the kilometers to get water? If not, I can't take care of the kids. How will he go on his daily search for food? There are no answers, and yet somehow Yasser goes on.
It is September 8th. I have very bad news. The Israelis targeted a house in my village. The number of victims was 13, 7 of them from my family. My father, my 2 brothers were there sleeping in our houses. I did not go with them because of Nada's illness. But I'm always worried about them. I'm sending you pictures of my family members. There they are, in the bags. They cannot be seen. The gist of Netanyahu's speech to the United Nations is a continuation of that war. I'm not optimistic. How can I be optimistic? Blinken and the Congress have gone astray.
October 21st, 2024. Horrifying scenes are unfolding in the northern strip amidst relentless Israeli strikes and an ever-worsening humanitarian crisis, Tor Wennesland, a UN Special Coordinator for the Middle East peace process, said. Nowhere is safe in Gaza. The war must stop now, he added.
The tent next to me was bombed a short while ago. a short while ago. The tent right next to where we are. One person was killed, several were injured. I was walking with Youssef and Mohammed next to this tent before the targeting. Thank God we were not harmed.
October 22nd, 2024, near Be'eri, Israel. Jewish settlers, including ministers and Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's cabinet, gathered on the border of Gaza on Monday, where they called for settlements Israel evacuated 2 decades ago to be re-established in the war-torn Palestinian enclave. We can renew settlements in Gaza, National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir told the hundreds who gathered for the 2-day outdoor conference titled Preparing to Resettle Gaza. Smoke could be seen rising in Gaza, and the loud bangs of artillery sounded in the distance.
Indeed, the only the United States can put an end to this. But there are joint plans with Israel. They're feeling implemented, and they are the priority for the United States. Israel and the United States will not give up, and Hamas will not give up either. And we will die.
That was in October. I can't say nothing has changed in the months since then, since the 1-year mark. I can say that the impossible has happened. Things have gotten worse. Much, much worse. The genocide rages on, but I have to admit that by now, by December, like Yasser, I kept holding on to some hope that by now, there would be an ending. But nothing.
A few moments ago, this bombing looked like a nuclear bomb happened next to us.
December 4th, 2024, U.S. President-elect Donald Trump has issued an apparent warning to Hamas, threatening all hell to pay if hostages held in Gaza are not released by the time he returns to the White House on January 20th. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu thanks Trump for his strong statement.
I have become very distracted the past few days, my friends. I have become like a child. I browse pages and videos about food. The soul can no longer stand deprivation. But this will pass. When the truce comes into effect, I will make all kinds of foods that my soul craves every 2 days without giving any importance to the high prices. We're no longer afraid of death. We only think about food.
December 27th, 2024. Headlines from today. Babies in Gaza die of hypothermia as living conditions worsen. Israeli attacks kills 5 journalists in vehicle clearly marked press. Israeli forces torch Kamal Adwan Hospital, the last medical facility in northern Gaza, forcing hundreds to flee. Gaza's Ministry of Health said on Friday that contact had been lost with staff inside the hospital. It had no information on the fate of patients and staff who were inside.
Oh, the past few days have been the coldest since the beginning of winter. I do not think that there is an end to this war in sight. What we now expect is the worst with the beginning of the Trump era. The wind is blowing.
Today is February 25th, 2025. The ceasefire in Gaza has been in effect for 35 days. The United States has changed presidents from one Zionist to the next, while speculation is that Trump succeeded in negotiating the ceasefire. Biden laid the groundwork for Trump's proposed Riviera of the Middle East. As the world at large continues to view Palestinians as dispensable, a lesser people to be herded like cattle in Palestine, families struggle to raise children, to find clean water, to maintain a sense of dignity. culture and pride in the midst of the rubble. Very soon after the ceasefire went into effect, the family moved back into their home. The windows and doors were destroyed, and all the pipes and appliances had been destroyed by bullets, but there were still 4 walls and a roof.
The first days were difficult. The drones and planes were gone, but our ears kept ringing. My middle son, Mohammed, who is 4.5, has been the most harmed by this war. He urinates at night and is frightened by every sound. For the first week, Maria would fall down and get up and brush herself off. She had only lived in a tent with the floor made out of sand. She kept going around the room and touching the walls. Our house is close to the buffer zone on the border with Israel. On the day the ceasefire started, January 19th, 15 martyrs were killed in my village because they were too close. The danger is still ongoing, but we hope that this truce is the beginning of the end of everything. On January 26, 2025, we recovered the body of my cousin, Ragad Abu Rida. We recognized him by his cell phone. All that was left of his body were a few small bones. Today we went to play football with my cousins in the old field where we used to play before the war started. Unfortunately, the entrance is close to the border, and there is a military site that the Army recently established. There were 10 minutes of machine gun fire and sound bombs near it. We all lay down on the ground during this period. The whistle of those bullets went above us. February 18th. Mohammed is fine, so is Youssef. The past 2 days have been the coldest since the beginning of winter. I did not think that there was an end to this war in sight. We will now expect the worst. With the beginning of the Trump era, the wind is blowing. That was on page 30.
We're at 32.
36.
32.
February 23rd, 2025. Hamas has condemned Israel's decision to postpone the release of more than 600 Palestinian prisoners, saying its claim that the captives' handover ceremonies are humiliating was a pretext to evade Israel's obligations under the Gaza ceasefire agreement. February 24th, 2025. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu warns that Israel is ready to return at any moment to intensive combat. The operational plans are ready. On February 25th, 2025, 6 children died from hypothermia as a result of the freezing cold, with no shelter as Israel prevents entry of mobile homes.
2 days ago, I received a video call from Yasser. Yusuf, who is now 7, grinned from ear to ear as he said in English, "Hello, my friend. I will go to school tomorrow." Yasser told me that Yusuf asked you to call so I would know they were going to school. Then Yusuf pointed to Muhammad and said, "Kinder." The call lasted for 13 minutes, and I got to talk to everyone in the family. Nada was beaming, Maria danced, and through it all, I wept. That 13 minutes, that joy and connection is what I will hold on to. May we all find some piece of joy to hang on to.
March 10th, 2025. Democratic Senator Peter Welch slams Israel for cutting off electricity and humanitarian aid to Gaza. First, Prime Minister Netanyahu blocked all humanitarian aid from reaching civilians in Gaza, Welch wrote in a social media post. Now his government is cutting off electricity to the more than 2 million people there. These actions won't make Israel safer. They will only result in more suffering and death.
lives are going on as usual. Food prices have risen, and we are always waiting for the crossings to open. Also, cooking gas has run out. The children, especially Mohammed, have adopted a school, and it seems that he is more accepting than Youssef. Maria is growing excellently, and her health is good. Some pimples have appeared on her face. We do not know the cause. And a few days ago, a fever also appeared on her tongue. Trump has backed down from the idea of displacing the residents of Gaza. It seems like there is a final agreement with Hamas. We are hopeful.
The eternal optimism from Yasser will never cease to amaze me. I am learning that this is a Palestinian trait, to always believe something positive is coming. Even though time after time they are met with utter disappointment, they always rise again.
There's an intense and frightening flight of reconnaissance planes and quadcopters in a frightening way around our homes and neighborhood. This made me think about the possibility of displacement. But today the news is positive regarding the American proposal to extend the truce for 50 days.
March 18th, 2025. The world awoke to the shocking news that Israel had resumed its genocidal war on Gaza. Israel killed more than 400 people in overnight attacks on Tuesday, launching air raids as people slept in the early hours of the morning.
Israel claims it is doing this to force Hamas to release the captives being held in Gaza. How can anyone believe anything they say? This has less than nothing to do with Hamas or the hostages. I mean, really? Are people stupid, blind, or they just don't give a shit? Meanwhile, Yasser and his family are back in a tent.
Our conditions are getting worse, whether in terms of food, because we have truly fallen into famine, or on the ground after the Israeli army announced the expansion of its operation in Gaza Strip.
I told Yasser about how many times the play is being read. It seems to be the one positive thing in their lives right now.
May God bless you all. I'm grateful to all of you because my family has become the voice of Palestine, the voice of the suffering of my oppressed people, slaughtered with the collusion of Israel and Hamas together to destroy the Palestinian cause. As for me, I am a person who has lost a lot of focus. I used to have the mind of an engineer, full of love for construction and reconstruction. But now I only think about how I will get food for my family. My children have become street children. We live in the street among passerbys. We have nothing to cover us except a piece of cloth. I spend my entire day from early morning to evening hours until I go to sleep trying to secure water which I carry from long distances so that my children can wash away the filth of this world in which we live here in the middle of the yellow sands and the outskirts of Khan Yunis. We're living in a real famine, as my children, my wife, and I crave and dream of food, which is the simplest thing for a human being. Oh, chocolate, chicken, bread. Whoever looks at us can see that we live in a daily struggle in tent life to the point that people there neglect their personal hygiene from the amount of daily work to serve these children. These children have no real sense in this life because they have lost their right to education and proper upbringing. The human mind can no longer bear anything, and between the endless demands of the children following the situation on the ground, listening to the news to see when I buy food for my children, shyly, my nephews come and look at what I bought with the shining eyes filled with hunger and shyness to ask for food. But I sit with them and feed them, but I cannot help everyone. My heart cannot bear to see these children, whether they are related to me or not, go hungry for no reason. Yesterday, I bought a bag of chips. I wanted to eat it for myself without the children seeing it, but I couldn't enjoy that. Without my children eating with me, one bag of chips used to cost a penny. Now it costs $4. You cannot eat it alone. We have lost a lot and we no longer want anything but a little. Even the very least, which is to stop this war and sleep in the rubble of my house without thinking about anything else.
July 8th, 2025. Israel kills 95 Palestinians in Gaza as Trump and Netanyahu meet. The Israeli Prime Minister insisted that Gaza will no longer be a threat as Israel advances plans to concentrate Palestinians in a humanitarian city near Rafah.
The army is advancing faster than before in eastern Khan Yunis. It's something simmering. There's been a lot of shelling here, and the ambulances are at capacity. Civilian carriers are transporting the injured.
Some days, I can't get out of bed. Then I ask myself, how dare you?
We have been consumed mercilessly, mentally, physically.
July 9th, 2025. According to the Colonization and Wall Resistance Commission, settlers carried out more than 2,153 attacks in the first half of 2025, resulting in the deaths of 4 citizens in the West Bank.
Oh, Maria's asthma attacks are worse now, and Youssef, I think he's starving. It looks like malnutrition.
July 9th, 2025. Israel kills more than 300 in Gaza in 48 hours as focus intensifies on Gaza Humanitarian Foundation Aid Center.
I feel sad for myself. I stand in the middle of a conversation between my neighbors and friends without understanding what they are saying or even remembering anything of what was said. I can't focus or remember.
It's becoming clear that the devastating toll of this genocide is showing in Yasser's text. I don't know how to respond. Words are empty. Sympathy is pathetic. And how can anyone say prayers are anything but useless?
July 16th, 2025. 10 children lose one or both limbs each day, and 15 children per day are left with potentially life-altering disabilities. 1 in 10 children are severely malnourished.
Like my children. We have been living under terrible psychological pressure all day long for more than 600 days in a very confined space. It's something no human being has ever experienced before in the history of mankind. A huge missile fell just 500 feet away from us. My heart beat fast. Sometimes I go to Chat GPT to talk, to find an explanation for what I'm going through. Unfortunately, I'm tired of flowery words.
No words, flowery or otherwise.
My back started hurting again, and the pain started to reach my feet. I got a cartilage problem. Maria is also sick. I don't know what to think. Should I think about how to get food and the high prices, or about my health or the health of my children?
July 20th, 2025. 18 in Gaza die from starvation in one day amid Israeli blockade.
Oh, we're fine, my friend, but the situation is very difficult. Today I found 2 small bags of water for $15. Also, there is terrifying chaos of thieves, bandits, thugs. They steal and kill without mercy. Whoever wants to get flour has only 2 choices: to risk death or to starve. Death is easier. The Israeli army is enjoying this chaos. We're scared. We will wait to see what happens.
We will wait and wait and wait for a world that doesn't care. We will wait.
Yesterday, I was with my brother in the Belgian field hospital after he was shot in the arm trying to get flour for his family. Fortunately, he was transferred from Nasser Hospital, which was collapsing health-wise. We will have surgery tomorrow.
August 25th, 2025. In southern Gaza, an Israeli attack on Nasser Hospital killed at least 21 people, including 5 journalists, receiving widespread global condemnation.
My friend, please say thank you to anyone who is checking on us in the midst of this genocide and deadly starvation war. Unfortunately, the psychological changes in the children are beginning to appear significantly now. They're adopting inappropriate behavior, whether it is violence or not listening to the instructions we give them. Children are growing up in the midst of this chaos. Yesterday, I was trying to buy a sack of flour, and the fight broke out between 2 children, 7-year-olds, if that old. One of them said to his brother, "Bring me a knife, I want to kill him." This behavior tells us that we are in great danger, and this pattern applies to all of those we have in the neighborhood. And we are always trying to prevent the children from interacting with the street children here. I am also becoming very nervous. The body is exhausted, the mind distracted. And now my eldest son, he's suffering from malnutrition.
August 12th, 2025. A new poll finds that 79% of Israeli Jews do not feel personally troubled by reports of starvation in Gaza.
If I succeed in leaving Gaza, my choice would be for the children and Nada to travel with me to Europe. I would like to stay in Ireland and work, and they would stay with me while they submit their asylum papers. Hopefully, we can go to Saudi Arabia to be with her family and continue they can go to Saudi Arabia to be with her family and continue their Arabic language and curriculum in addition to English. I don't see the point of living without elevating yourself and your status amongst people. I am hoping to settle abroad and return when I want.
I hope a miracle will happen to stop this.